Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to make a personal portfolio website. Now, this is something that is not especially hard to do once you understand it, but it is something that I think everybody should have. Whether you are looking for a job, whether you're a college student, whether you're a freelancer, whether you are working on your own as a photographer and you want to have your own portfolio for that, there's many different reasons why you'd want to have a personal portfolio website. Whatever the reason is, in this video, I'll show you the most effective and most easy way to set this up that is not only extremely professional and clean and looks really nice, but also easy to maintain with no coding and really no prior requirements for understanding websites. Everything that you need to know to make and manage this website will be covered in this video. So let's get started by going over to my laptop, and from here we can just go to santrelmedia.com/hostinger. That's Hostinger. I also have a link in the top of the description and in a comment. You can click on that or copy and paste it. That'll bring you to this page here. And from here, we can go to hosting and click down to WordPress hosting. The way we're doing this website, this is going to be hosted with Hostinger. It's run on WordPress, and we'll have a plugin on top that makes it really easy to build. I'll explain what all of that means as we go, but we can click on claim deal. There are 4 different plans you can choose from. Fortunately, they're all very affordable compared to a lot of the competition, but despite the affordability, I still find Hostinger to be, really great uptime, very fast website, super reliable. So you're getting a really strong value for your money. That's one of the reasons that we always like to make WordPress websites with Hostinger. If you check out the other videos on this channel, they're almost entirely made with Hostinger when we're using WordPress. So when you're doing a personal portfolio website, honestly, you don't need Pro, you don't need Business WordPress. You could really look at the first 2. This one's extremely popular, and usually that's what I go with. They do give you 3 months free, so you do get a slightly better deal with that one. But all things considered, I kind of like, for a personal website, I don't know. I mean, for me, I think it might make sense to go with the single WordPress. Really, the differences here are going to be how many websites you can make. Again, personal website, not a big deal. How much storage you have, it's doubled with this one. Substantially more visits. But, when you're starting out, if it's just a personal portfolio and you don't have a lot of traffic, you could start off with the single WordPress and upgrade in the future. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to click on the single WordPress. It's also $3.99 per month when you renew, so really a pretty good deal there. And then from here, it's going to have us add this to our cart, 1 month or all the way up to 48 months. Honestly, 48 months is a pretty good deal. You're looking at 4 years at $2 a month. Like, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't just do that. So let's do that. Then we can go down here and we can actually type in the code Santrel, Santrel 10, Santrel 10. You'll get 10% off additionally. So that brings it down to $86 for 4 years of a website. If you guys can find that deal anywhere else, I would be very surprised. But I'm going to type in my credit card information now and submit the secure payment. Okay, so now we can enter a new password. Okay, and now it's going to start walking us through the basic setup here. So we can say start now. We're creating this for ourselves. We're building it ourselves. Hopefully you don't need to hire a developer. And this is going to be a portfolio. So it's just going to showcase our work. And do we need help? Hopefully no, because I will be showing you everything you need to know in this video. Now we're going to be creating a WordPress account. So it's going to be suggesting the same email, but make sure you have either, the same password or a different password. But you want to remember that this is a different account. This is not your Hostinger account. This is your WordPress account. So I'm going to type in mine, say continue. So that made a new account there. And let's skip all this. We don't want the plugins. I usually just wipe those out as soon as I get into WordPress anyway, and we start fresh once we get there. Similarly, don't bother with a template now. We can do that once we get there. And then for domains, let's say buy a domain because a lot of the plans do come with a free domain. Like I said, if you go with the most popular one, not like the WordPress starter, but the next one up, you do get a free domain. I'm going to select a domain, but before I do this, I want to point out that one of my favorite tools is actually go to domains.google.com. This is a great way to find domains because Google, I just think it's a nice, easy search engine. Like you could buy it through here. I usually just go directly through Hostinger, but I use Google domains to search. So let's say I want Mike O'Brien. I can just look up Mike O'Brien, a super common name. Thanks, mom and dad. But because of that, I don't get to have .com, .net, .org. I have to go all the way down to like .info or .store. So if you have a more unique name, good for you. That's going to be, you could probably get .com, which would be awesome. That's really a lot better. But I'm going to go with mikeobrien.co. Maybe mikeobrien.co is available. Yes, it is $30 a year. But I'm going to go back to Hostinger. It might be a little bit more expensive going directly through the host. That's really a common thing. But I'm going to say Mike O'Brien. I still think it's worth it to go direct as long as it's not like, so actually it's cheaper here. That's surprising. $24 per year instead of $30 a year. So that's a really obvious thing to do. I'm going to go with this right now, buy it through here, and I'm going to buy it for 3 years at a time. It is a little bit, actually it's the same price no matter how long you're doing it. So I'm going to go 2 years, makes sense for me. And on top of that, big thing here, free domain privacy protection is included. That's something that a lot of services charge you extra for. That means that when somebody goes onto Whois and they look up this domain, they won't find my phone number, they won't find my address, they'll find protected privacy there. So let's complete the payment. And not that anybody would hunt you down, but you know what I mean, like stalkers or just whatever. I think privacy on the internet is really a powerful and important thing that a lot of people don't take seriously enough. So let's go to next step now. And from here, we can select some primary options. So we are in the United States. I am in the United States. I don't know where you're watching from. Leave a comment. Let me know, where are you watching from? Personal, right? We're going to say next step. From here, we've got my name. I'm going to ditch the apostrophe because the internet and computer world cannot handle that. Let's type in my address now. And then once you finish the registration, they're going to assign the domain to you automatically. It hooks it up on the back end. You don't have any kind of DNS stuff, all that. Like, you don't have to worry about that. It's really automatic here, which is why, like I said, I usually buy the domain directly through wherever I'm making the website. Now, on top of that, do be aware that you need to actually go into your email and verify that within the next, I think, 7 days. You have to verify the domain or else you lose the domain. So look out for that email and definitely go and verify that. So we're going to say finish setup. And also, by the way, when you start a new website, there are a lot of scams that see new domains pop up and they will send you emails saying you have to pay for different things. Like, just be very cautious when you're getting emails related to your domain. Like, really Google things before you give anybody your credit card. So right here, it says SSL is installed automatically, which is awesome. I'm so glad we're doing that on here. Usually that is a step I show in website development because that is essentially the little lock icon up in the corner that says that your website is encrypted, therefore it's secure. Obviously, you need that for any kind of payments, but it's really just a best practice on the internet these days. And if you don't have that, there's a big warning on the top that says, for most browsers at least, there's a big warning that says not secure, which is kind of just a big red flag. When I go to websites and it says that, I mean, I know what it means, but still, it shows like a very unprofessional website. People that don't know what that means are probably going to be scared away from your website. Not ideal. Now, down here you can see it's 94%, 96%. It's moving along pretty quickly, and we should be able to start building our website any second now. All right, so now we can either edit our website or we can go to the control panel and manage some things there. There's not a whole lot I want to do there. I want to enable daily backups eventually, but let's start off with editing the website, kind of get some progress here so we're not just clicking through settings the entire video. That's honestly just really boring. So, all right, so here it's going to take us to this page, which says, we can close out of that. It looks like it's in like a post editing mode, so we're going to close out of this too. Close out of that, click on WordPress in the top left corner. So from the dashboard, just a quick rundown here on the left, this is where you can get to different parts of your website. So all your different blog posts are here. All your different media is down here. These are photos and documents you might have uploaded. All your different pages, for example, your home page, your about page, anything else will show up in the pages tab. Comments you can review, appearance, plugins. Essentially WordPress is, I didn't explain WordPress yet. Let me do that right now. Okay, so a good way to understand WordPress is if you think about it like a car. So the engine is like WordPress. That's what's actually moving your website. That's everything that's on there is happening through the engine, which is your content management system, your CMS, which is WordPress. Now, you need to park your car somewhere, and that is your garage. That's your hosting. Hosting is essentially where you save your website. It's actually on a server somewhere being saved so that anybody can access it at any point and see your website. And then we've got plugins, which are kind of like little apps and software you might have inside your car. For example, maybe you have Apple CarPlay on the inside, maybe you have a backup camera, maybe you have different features like that. And those are plugins that go into WordPress that make it really nice and usable. So in the plugins here, you see we have quite a few. You don't want to have too many because the more plugins you have, just the more opportunity for things to go wrong. So I like to get rid of any plugins that I don't need. So right off the bat, I don't think I need the anti-spam one. I really don't plan on having comments enabled on my articles. So I'm going to get rid of that one. We can click delete, keep the Hostinger one. Hello Dolly is just a plugin, so it symbolizes, okay, let's delete that one. We don't need that one. We'll delete and say, okay. We've got Lightspeed Cache. I'm going to deactivate that first, and then we can delete it once it's deactivated. So then click delete on that one. We'll say okay. By the way, I'm just using Brave browser here. If you're using like Safari or Chrome, the pop-ups might look a little bit different, but it really should be pretty similar. And then WP Forms Lite. I don't plan on having forms on this website, at least not at the moment. If I want to in the future, I can get that back. So I'm going to go and delete that as well. So I'm going to say delete. And I'm not migrating a website either. So let's deactivate this one and delete it. So the only plugin we're going to have left is Hostinger. And that cleans it up really nicely. It also cleans up the left side. You'll notice this menu here was a lot longer when we had forms and other things on the side. Plugins sometimes show up over here. So you can clean that up as well. Now, what we want to do, first of all, is we need to have a theme. We need to have a theme on this website. And the best way to do that is to go over to Appearance. There's a lot of different themes out there. We really like to use Astra. It's really a nice one. So we're going to click on Add New on the top, Add New, and we are going to search for a theme. I'm going to type in Astra, A-S-T-R-A, Astra. It's super popular, millions and millions of downloads. So if we go here, you can actually click on this, see details, and it'll say somewhere 5,000 ratings. Does it tell us anywhere how many downloads this has? I know it has like millions of downloads, but regardless, let's go and click install. So we're going to install this right now, and this will be the theme on our website. It's not like a single theme. There's a lot of different templates you can apply. It's really just like a way to manage your theme. And Astra, like I said, super popular and also very easy to use. So now it's installed. We have to go and click activate. Okay, that error, don't worry about that. If we just click on back, it'll bring us to this page here. And what we have to do is actually go into your email and verify your email with Hostinger so you get the domain associated with your account. Okay, so let's go back to the Hostinger tab right here. So we have two options, Control Panel and edit your website. I'm going to go to Control Panel. There's really one thing I want to do here, and I really think it's important to enable daily backups. So if we click on Manage, you see daily backups right there. Let's click on Manage. And from daily backups, we can add daily backups. It's $2 per month or $2.10 per month. So I'm going to add daily backups, and we can do that for any amount of months. I'm just going to start off with 1 month at a time. I'm going to complete the payment. And this is great. So in the future, when you're editing your website, say like a month from now, if you go and update a plugin or you do something wrong and you accidentally closed out before you finished updating the plugin, enters maintenance mode, it's a big headache. It's a lot easier if you have daily backups and you just roll it back by 1 day. You don't have to worry about figuring out what's wrong with your website. You don't have to worry about rebuilding your entire website. Instead, you just roll it back to the previous backup. Your website's good to go. It saves you, trust me, it saved me many, many headaches when I was starting out with WordPress. And honestly, even now, I just really like having it just as a nice peace of mind. As a side note, you might notice that here it says your domain is not pointing to Hostinger. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for your domain to actually be activated through Hostinger. Also, to speed this process up, be sure to go into your email and verify your email address with the domain so that's authenticated. And then you're able to activate that hopefully a little bit faster. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so now that we have our daily backups and we have our domain verified, we can actually see a little green mark here, so we should be good to go. Sometimes this takes a couple minutes to do, but we can go back to the first tab where we have this right here and click on edit your website. But another way to do this, keep in mind, in the future, if you want to go and edit your website, usually what I do is I go to the domain, so mikeobrien.co/WP for WordPress -admin. Hit enter, and that'll bring you to the WordPress sign-in. This is really the better way to get to your website in the future instead of always going through Hostinger. So now we can type in and our password, say login, and that'll bring you into the WordPress dashboard. So I'm going to close out of that. And so from here we can go down and you'll see that we have in the Appearance tab, we can see that we do actually have Astra it's actually activated right now. That's the last thing I clicked before we hit that error. But of course, if it's not, you can always just, like this one, for example, hover over it. The word activate should be there. You would click on that and Astra should be showing up. And now that we have Astra, we can go down to Astra options underneath Appearance. So Astra options, click on that. And on the right side, you should see something that says we have a free library of starter templates. So I'm going to go down and click on Install Importer Plugin. So this will allow us to import an entire template, saves us a ton of time, a ton of work. and it's really, it sets you up with a lot of the plugins you'll need. I think it's really the best way to make a website with very, very little effort. So we can go down here, say build your website now. We're going to choose Elementor. That's really my favorite. And then from here, we can go and choose which one's actually going to be the best for us. So I'm going to click on personal sites. Personal portfolio is probably a good one that we might want to be looking at. And we can see a lot of these, again, follow that theme perfectly of a personal portfolio. This is great for like a podcast or a voiceover artist, freelancers. So let's scroll down and see which one actually makes the most sense for me. So I like this one right here. It's pretty simple, but it really gets the job done in my opinion. So I'm going to skip all of this stuff on the left, and I'm going to say skip and continue. We'll upload logos and do all of that later on. And then colors, though, I do want to choose colors. I kind of like this blue here, so let's see what that changes down there. Maybe a little bit darker. That's decent right there. Oops, I went back. Actually, green looks really good too. I might keep it with the default ones. As far as the font goes, you can change the fonts and choose what you want. I really like Montserrat right here. That's usually a font I like to go with, but let's see, Roboto is a good one. And let's go with this one right here. So we're going to say continue, and now it's going to ask a little bit about us. So Mike, and then make sure you have all these selected, except this one is optional on the bottom. And I am going to submit and build my website. And there we go. Now if we click on view your website, you can see that this obviously is not me and it's all different stuff, but it's pretty impressive that with very little effort, I can probably go through here and change the text, change the pictures, and have a similar looking website with very, very little effort. I didn't need to set up where things go. I didn't need to set up backgrounds. I didn't need to set up any of that stuff. It all is going to show up looking exactly like this as soon as I can customize that. So from here, if we go to the top left, click on WordPress. Here it'll bring us back to the WordPress dashboard, and you'll see that it did install some things. It brought WP Forms back, whatever, that's fine. If we go to pages right here, we should have quite a few different pages. So we can get rid of these as we see fit, but starting off the home page is where we were. If I go to edit with Elementor, it'll bring us into the Elementor interface where we can edit this really easily by dragging and dropping. So everything on the left side, these are elements that you're able to drag and drop. And as you might expect, if I want an image, I can drag and drop it, and it kind of goes above or below things or next to things based on wherever you see that little blue bar pop up. So if I want an image above this, I can go and drop it in there. Okay, so I don't actually want that image here. So if we click on the history, we can go back to editing and started. And so let's go back to here. So now I'm going to go through here and start editing this website. Elementor is using something known as a block layout. So you can see this blue box outlines the first block, which goes down to right here. And then the next one starts here in green. The next one down here starts in white. Then we've got another one down here. And so each section is kind of its own thing. So if we want to like move it, you can click on the 6 dots and drag it up and down and move it above or below something else. You could also click the X to get rid of it. Click the plus to add one between 2 sections, and when you're adding a new one, you could either add like a single column, double column, 3 columns, and the columns could be different widths as well. It could be asymmetric, whatever you want there. Or what you could also do is you can add an entire template, one that either you saved or a pre-made one. As you can see right here, if we go to blocks, there are a lot of different block styles. If you want something that is a form, for example, if you want something that's like some testimonials, really easy to add things when they're already pre-made like this. So I don't think I need to add anything particularly on this page. I'll probably be removing stuff actually, but let's go through here and start customizing. So I'm going to say, hello, I'm Mike. I am a... Okay, so let's go with that. And then below here, I do want to add some text. So let's go click on this, the 9 dots up here. We're going to add a heading underneath Mike O'Brien, so right there. And here is going to be probably like what my title is. So I'm going to say, I'll probably add some descriptors down here. So we'll say YouTuber, investor, engineer. Probably 3 things that I think would probably describe me right now. And then down here we could say a little bit more of a description. So I run a series. I run several. Okay, so this is our first button now. If we click on the pencil icon, it'll bring us into this right here. And by default, I actually just deleted that. It'll have a little hash right there. We don't want that. We're going to delete that. That's only if you're linking within this website and you want to make it scroll down to an anchor. We can set that up later on. But really, let's say I want this to link out to maybe my Twitter. So let's talk I don't know, maybe that's what I want to do on my personal brand. And then over here, we also have another one. This says learn more. And so learn more is just some text. That's actually another button. That's a white button. And so from here, we could say my channels, and maybe down here, I'll have a section. Let's say maybe this section right here could be about me. Let's call this one my channels, my YouTube channels. And so up top, we could say, if we want to say my channels and we want this right here to link down to that, what we need to do is add an anchor so it knows how far to scroll down. So if we want to scroll down to right here, we can go to the 9 dots, scroll down until we find anchor. So we should find anchor in here, or you can just type into the search widget anchor, anchor. So menu anchor, we're going to place that right above about me, so right there. And this anchor we can call my channels. So copy that. And we can go up here, and for this button, so little pencil icon, keep the hash there now and say paste my channels. So when we click on update, we can click on the preview changes. It'll show us what the website looks like, and when somebody clicks on my channels, it'll scroll down to this part right here. So that's what that little hash is for, to link down to an anchor, a different part of the same page, or if they say let's talk on Twitter, it'll link them over to my Twitter. So I'm going to close out of that. And that's already, you see, like we're already editing a lot of the text here. It looks really good. We've got our socials down here. That's the next thing to edit. Okay, so then we have our socials down here, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. If I wanted to add some more, I could add another item and whatever, WordPress. Nah, probably not that one. Let's see what other icons we have in here. Instagram would be a good one. There's Instagram right there, so we're going to insert that. Let's get rid of Facebook. And let's see if there's any other ones. Add another item. We can go to the icon library. You can also upload your own icons very, very easily. And from here, I actually don't see any others that I really feel like I need to add. So I'm going to leave it, maybe just another YouTube one. I'll insert that. And so for each one, you can click on that. It's an icon that is linking somewhere. So we can say, essentially any social media is usually just like twitter.com/ and then you can just type in your username. Mike O'Brien. For me, it's actually Mike O'Brien with 2 N's because, again, it's a super common name, so that's what I have to do, unfortunately. So let's go to Instagram. Okay, and so now we have all of those set up down there. If you wanted to, so we have all those set up down there. Make sure you always click on update as frequently as possible. You really just want to make sure that you're not losing any progress as you go. And then the first one, the only other thing we really have here is this guy in the background. So I want me in the background, not that guy. And so I'm going to see if I have a photo of myself that I can add in there. All right, so now we have this picture of this guy here who's not me, and I want to change that. So I have a photo I want to add there, but you can see he's actually in the background of the entire section. So this whole section, like I said, outlined in blue, that starts here or ends there and starts up here. If we click on it with the 6 dots, you'll see a picture of him shows up right there. Let's choose a different image. So I already have an image uploaded, but if we go to upload files, select one, and it will actually upload, and then we can actually go and click on it. I already did that, say insert media, and it's going to insert it over on the right. Now what I'm doing is a little bit different. I have a darker image, so I'm going to make this entire thing a darker background up here. So instead of having white over there and then this like kind of brown here, what I want to do is actually change the color. So click on the color right there, and I'm going to paste this color here that should match it reasonably well. So now it's a decent match, but the picture's all messed up. It's the wrong size and the wrong place. So we can click on size, and I'm going to move this to contain. Probably the best way to do that. Maybe cover. Let's see if cover's a little too big, so we'll go to contain. And then the X and Y position were already preset from the template before as well. So I want the Y position. Let's move that back up so that it's lined up with the top. So right about there. And then the X position, I think, depending on how we look at this, we probably want this to be a little further over as well. So maybe something like that would be good. I still don't like how this edge is so visible. I'll go back in Photoshop later and make sure that it really matches with the perfect color. All right, I actually just paused the video and did that right now. I think that looks a lot better though. So this looks pretty good. The text is probably not the right color. I probably want this to be white. So if we click on that, highlight all the text, and we can go to style now. And the easiest way to change the text color right now is just the default, but I want to make this actually white. So we're going to make that white. I think that shows up a little bit better. So we can go back to style, make this white as well. make this down here. All this text can be white because that is a darker background there. In fact, I might even maybe Photoshop the photo a little bit later and make that even darker yet. But rolling with this for now, let's go and style this one, the text down there, drag that up to white. And my channels, so this right here, we can change the style of buttons so that the text color is white. And you can actually change it as well when you hover over it. Keep the text color, so when you hover over it, yeah, we can change it to that green. That's probably not a bad idea. And then of course this right here turns into green when you hover over that. But when you don't hover over it, it's kind of black and white, but let's switch that. So if we'll go to style, we can change the text color and the color of the button. So let's make the button color white, completely white, and make the text color black. Or we could even make it that brown color that we were working with before right there. So that I think looks pretty nice, pretty clean. And I'm going to click update here. And now the first section is pretty much ready to go. So you're starting to get an idea of how we can use Elementor to really edit this website, how different things are edited, and what you can do in terms of styling and things like that. But I really only talked about the content tab for each one. So if we go to edit this content, you'll see that we have the actual text right there. We can choose if it's like H1, H2, so different styles of headers. And of course we have the size and if we want to link it anywhere. But otherwise, the style is really going to be, as you might assume, the font and the color and the shadow and different things you might want to add for text or for buttons. A lot of that, when you go to style, that's where you'd be going to actually change the color. Now, advanced has some, a lot of other stuff with regards to spacing, how things interact with each other. So like how much room is between this and the next thing, with margin and with padding. And one of the most important ones that's actually hidden all the way down here is responsive. So if there's something that you don't want to show up on mobile, but you do want it to show up on a desktop site, you can choose where it is actually being hidden. And while I'm on this topic right here, let's actually go to responsive mode on the bottom and change this to a mobile view. So if you go to mobile view, you'll see this looks really bad now. So suddenly it got completely messed up. And I don't like how that's set up, so we can actually go and change things and hide them on tablet, hide them on desktop. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later when we can edit the rest of the website on mobile as well. But going back with desktop, let's go down and see what we have down here. So the next section is some of the amazing clients I've worked with. Let's instead change this to featured on. And so here's where you might put like Forbes and CNN and all the other things. I'm not going to add in all those right now, but if you click on the little edit icon there, this is just 5 images lined up one at a time. So you can upload your own images. This is uploaded in like kind of a semi-transparent, like greenish color, as you can see right there. Going down, the services that we offer, I actually don't like. I don't think I really need to add this right here. I'd rather just have my channels as the next thing. So let's delete this. We're going to delete that section. Testimonials, again, I don't need that, so let's delete that one. Now we can have my YouTube channels. Okay, so within my YouTube channels, I want to have, let's actually get rid of this so we can right click and we can go down to delete this. And then I want to add several columns within here. So the next thing I want to show you within Elementor is essentially like subsections, sub-columns in here. So if we go down here, we should be able to find, where did it go? Intersection, it's actually the first one there. So intersection, let's click and drag that over here. And we have 2, but let's say I have more than 2 YouTube channels. Well, actually, let's start with 1 at a time. So I'm going to have a bunch in here, but I'm going to duplicate 1 at a time is how I want to do this. So for each one, I'm going to add a heading. So we'll drag heading into that box. And we want this to be, let's call this like an H3. So this can be like Santrel Media. And I want this to be centered, and I want this to be, let's call it H3, looks fine. And then below that, so let's go back to the 9 dots. Let's go to text editor, add that below there. Maybe we want to have an image down here too, so we can have an image. And then maybe we want to have a button. Let's actually have a button. Where do we want to add that button? Let's add the button somewhere close to the top. Let's add the button right here. Maybe the image should be above the button. Image should be above the text. Yeah, that's probably that's the way to do it there. So let's go and change the text. I'm going to have a little description of the channel. Here I'm going to have this button centered, and we can call this check it out, or go to channel. And then here we can have there we go. So now we can add an image in here of what the channel is. I didn't mean to drag that over there. Add the image, so we can click on that. Upload files. I actually already have one right here. I uploaded a couple minutes ago. So we're gonna insert the media. There's a picture of the channel. That's probably something like that is kind of what I'm looking for right here. Now, because we want them all to be kind of similar in format, I want to duplicate this. But actually, one last step before we do that, let's customize this a little bit more, the entire column. So if we click on the column on the top left, we can go to Style. We can change the background on this to have a white background. So otherwise, let's close that. Let's have a white background like that, because this is all kind of gray. So let's have a white background, and then maybe we want a border to have a radius. So if we go to border, let's add it to maybe, I don't know, like a 40 pixel radius or something like that, maybe 40. So just so enough, it's kind of visible there. And if you want to change like one corner or the others, you can actually unlink them. You can see right here, those are the link. That's like, they're all linked together. I keep them all linked together. Of course, that makes sense here. And now what we want to do is actually duplicate this. So if I right click on this, I can duplicate the column. Now we have two columns. One thing you'll notice though is that these are a little bit too close together. So let's go back to the first one. Let's go to advanced. And remember I said in advanced, that's where you can actually add margin and padding. We want to add, let's say a couple pixels, maybe 8 pixels is fine, just so we have a little bit more of a gap there. Actually, let's make it 5 pixels because it will be doubled there. Now let's go up here and delete this duplicate and reduplicate this one. Now, because we want that margin to be consistent across them. So now we have a little bit more of a gap there. I think it looks a little bit better. Again, this background here is not as dark as I would like, so you can't really see these white bubbles. So if we want to change that, we'll go up here to Style, we'll go to that color, and we can just make that like really ever so slightly darker. Just drag it down very, very slightly. And now they stand out way more now. I think that looks a lot better. So let's go back down here. So we have 3. Of course, this one's blank, so we can go and delete that one. Let's duplicate this one though. So we can say duplicate. And so let's just say we have 3 channels. That's probably a good way to start this. The next one I'm gonna have tech reviews, and this one can be OBR travel. And each one we want a custom link, of course. And this could be, this is my tech review channel. Okay, so there we go. We've got 2 of those there. And let's change the images on these. So tech review, actually let's start with travel. So if we click on that, we can trash that image and get a different one. If we go to upload, I think I had one down here. There we go, that's from one of my trips. And we can use this image. Now we want the images to have the same aspect ratio, so they're not like taller or shorter, and we can really customize that in here if we need to, but sometimes it is easier just to, in a separate, like in Photoshop or whatever, make sure that each image you're going to use has the same dimensions. It does make your life easier, so you don't have this kind of situation. This is fine on the bottom, but that's only because this has substantially less text, and so it kind of works out really fortunately there. Now this right here, tech reviews, let's go and just change this one as well. I'm gonna make that just a picture of me because it's my personal brand. And of the pictures of me, I think I have some that would make sense right there. Let's see what we have. Maybe this one would be good. It's a little bit taller, so this is an example of where it might actually stick out a little bit too far on the bottom. So I'm gonna insert media. You can see that made the entire thing so much taller, so I don't like that image. Let's get rid of that one, and instead we're going to go with, all right, so let's go with that one right there. And actually, so yeah, I really don't like how this one is a little bit too tall. So if I want to change that image, you can always, if you go back to choose image, you can say edit image right here, and there is an option to crop it. So within here, let's crop it down just so it's a little bit shorter. And now that image should be a different size if we go and insert that again. So we'll insert the media. Now it's a slightly better size. Tech review channel, we can say I talk about. There we go. So now we've got the different channels there. They have a nice little gap between them. I think it looks it looks reasonable here. It looks pretty nice, I would say. So far, hello, I'm Mike O'Brien, what I am, picture of me going down. Actually, it's a little bit like dark. There's definitely an overlay on here. We've got about me. There's a lot of buffer up here, but some of that is just because of that anchor. About me, I don't really like how it says about me right there. So I'm going to get rid of that. So we can go to this little thing and just say delete. I don't want that right there. Delete that. YouTube channels, milestones or awards. Okay, we can change that as well. We don't need this down here. Let's get rid of that. And of course, let's talk. I kind of like that. That's cool. So adding this is a little bit dorky. I'm definitely not going to hold up some kind of bubble for this one, but let's customize this. That's actually the footer down there. And I don't really like how it just says let's talk. Like I wish I had a form or a button or something so it's a little bit more intuitive. So when you see this, you don't have to hover over that to realize that it is a way to contact. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's go back up here and customize this last box on the bottom. So we've got milestones and awards. If I wanted to add something else down here, let's just delete this all together and add a new section so you guys can see how we would go about doing this. And let's just go and see if we have any sections that we want. Some of these blocks that are pre-made that might fit in on this website. So let's say maybe like some metrics would be good. We could have maybe like a rate card. We could have something about contacting me. We could have probably contacting me would be would make the most sense here. Even though it's in the footer, we can change that and have maybe its duplicate as well. That's fine. But let's first start off. Let's add some metrics in there. Let's import that block. I like that one. 70%, whatever. So you get the idea. We can add something like this, and I think the color on this one in the background, it's kind of that same gray. I don't know if I really like that. Let's change this to something else. Maybe instead we want it to be, there we go. And then this, of course, has to change to white. There we go. Okay, so that's a little bit like corporate down there. I don't know if I really like that block, but you get the idea. So this is going to be how you can edit different pages with Elementor. Really, the whole point of this is to show you how to use Elementor, but this is definitely not the end of making your personal portfolio website, because there's a lot more to this. You have to make sure that you have, different pages. So maybe you have an about page, maybe you have a portfolio. This is a portfolio website. If you're looking to just make it as like a resume or a personal brand or something like that, then maybe this page, it's definitely a good start. Maybe it's enough, but having a portfolio is obviously going to be important, especially for video editors, for photographers, for anybody who, maybe you're an engineer and you have projects. Like, a portfolio really goes a long way. At least when I'm hiring people, I much prefer a portfolio over any resume, over any cover letter, and definitely over recommendations as well. Like, I just think seeing the work you did really says a lot more than anything else. And so that's why I think a lot of employers actually look for that as well. So let's click on update. Let's click on the little hamburger icon on the top, go to exit. We're going to exit to the WordPress dashboard, and that'll take us, hold on, so let's say cancel. Let's update this again, make sure that everything's saved. Now we'll click exit, back to the dashboard. There we go. Okay, so now we have we have pages. If we go to pages, we have our home page. We have other pages that don't really do anything, and we can customize what they look like. Just to kind of recap, if I go to mikeobrien.co, you'll see that on the top we have home, work, testimonials, contact, and this loads way too slow. So we can speed that up, and I'll show you a great plugin that makes that load incredibly fast. So starting off, work, testimonials, contact, and let's talk. So we want to customize that. Going back over to the WordPress dashboard, if we go down to appearance, we can see menus there. And the menu that is being used on the top is this primary menu right here. So we can see we've got home, work, testimonials, contact. And out of these, okay, so work, I don't even know what the work page is. I guess that would be probably like your portfolio. So I'm going to rename this to portfolio, or maybe example work or something like that. Testimonials, I don't want testimonials. I'm going to delete the testimonials here, but maybe I do want to have another link up there to something else. Maybe it's like a resume, for example. Maybe you want to link a resume up here. And I'm just going to show you really quickly how you would link to, for example, a document that could be downloaded on the very top without putting them into another page on your website. So the way we do this, let's save the menu first of all. We'll come back to the menu. Let's go back to media. And within media, I'm going to click add new. We're going to select a file. Go down to, I have a resume here. We'll upload that resume. And now once it uploads, we can actually click on that. So once it uploads, we can click on that. Obviously, it's like a fake resume. I didn't actually add anything there. And we can see the file URL. So we're going to copy the URL to clipboard. And now I can close this. And we can go back to where we were in appearance, menus. And within menus, remember, there's several different things you can add to the menu. So you can add different pages to the menu. You can add different posts to your menu. You can add custom links to your menu, and you can add categories to your menu. So if you have a category of products on your website or a category of blog posts or something like that, you can add that on here. Custom links, I'm going to do that though. So I'm going to paste this right here, and I'm going to say my resume. I'm just going to say resume. Resume, we're going to add that to the menu, and I want this to be the third link there, and we're going to actually make it a regular third link. And I think that is going to be a really easy way for people to see your resume on the top. Click on it, it'll download your resume for them as a PDF right now, and they can easily, go through your resume just like that. So that's a great way, especially if you're looking to get hired, maybe how I would go about doing that. But one other thing I want to mention with the menu structure here is if we want to add another page. Let's just say we want to add the contact page, maybe again, or let's just say sample page, just for the sake of example here. The sample page, maybe we want this to be a subset of portfolio. So we can go up to portfolio and drag it over. See how it's a little bit over right there? And now it's going to show up underneath. So when you hover over the top, if you hover over portfolio, sample page will show up. So if I save the menu right now, I click save menu. And now if we go over here and refresh this website, you'll see that portfolio now has sample page below it in a little drop down arrow. And you can still click on portfolio, but that drop down gives you the option to open the sample page. And if we click on resume, it'll take us over to the resume as a PDF, which I think is a really easy and nice way to go about doing that and integrating it on the top. Of course, we don't want the sample page there, so I'm going to go down and remove that. I think that is not really beneficial here, so we're going to save the menu, and now we have a much better menu. Going back to posts, we have at least one blog post that doesn't do anything. It's not useful, so I'm going to move that to trash. If you want to add blog posts, essentially what you would do is click on Add New from Posts, and before you go into actually editing it, let's give it a title. So we could say this is going to be like we want to add a title there, and then on the right side we've got a URL. I'm going to tell you how you can change this, because you want this to, usually what people do is they'll say your domain, like .com, .co, whatever, / the title of your blog post. Right now it's / question P equals 291. Doesn't really look that good. I really wouldn't recommend that. But also down here you can see we can categorize it. So we can add a new category, and this could be like personal journal entries. Personal, if you have like a blog that's really about you or something, so we can add that as a new category. Click add new category, and we can categorize blog posts like that. And again, you can add categories to different parts of your website on the menu like I showed you a minute ago, or if it's just nice to have that within here as well. We can add tags if you want. Featured image, I highly recommend setting a featured image. So I'm going to set this one right here just as a picture of me. And of course, we can have an excerpt down here. This is going to be beneficial for how Google finds you, or not how they find you, but how they display you when somebody searches for this on Google. So if they search for my first business, mikeobrien.co, it's going to show up with some blue text there. That's the link, and then a little paragraph below that, and that's exactly what this excerpt would be. So we'll just say dummy text. So just like some other text down there, so you get the idea. And then discussion, do you want to allow comments? I'm not going to allow comments on this. And then pingbacks and tracebacks, sure, we can leave that as it is. So before you publish, we're going to save this as a draft. And now we can go up here and say edit with Elementor. And now we can actually go about editing this thing. Obviously the image is huge, it's gigantic. But you can go through here, and now the rest of this is going to be completely similar tools to what we saw before when you're editing this, but there are a couple things that are slightly different, specific for blog posts that you can do on Elementor. Some of them include things like author name, title, so things that are going to be pulling some metadata from the article. And so that's not something you normally see when you're editing a page, but you do see it here. It's pretty self-explanatory, like author box, for example, would make sense. But otherwise, mostly just heading, text, sections, buttons, videos, the usual stuff that we've been talking about. So I'm not going to dive into that too much. Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit more about editing this header, not just the arrangement there, but also like the logo and how it looks and things like that. So we're going to click on Exit. From here, we can go down to Appearance. We can go to Elementor Header and Footer Builder. And so right now we have a footer. We can edit that footer with Elementor, because right now we've got this footer going on and that guy is not me, so it makes no sense to have that guy there. So let's replace that with a picture of me. So we're going to click on the 6 dots there. Remember, this is like his picture is a part of the background. So if we go to Style, his picture shows up right there. Let's delete that first of all, and I'm going to add a picture of me with no background. So if we click on Image, we can go to Upload Files, select a file. I'm going to go with this one right here, no background. and we can insert this media. Another thing to mention is when you have images on your site, it's really a good habit to add some alt text to each of them. And so essentially this is going to help Google understand what the image is without having to use, advanced AI to like figure out what the image is. So it's going to help you rank higher on Google when people search for that specific image. So if this is like a picture of Mike O'Brien, then when people search for an image of Mike O'Brien, this is more likely to show up because it does have that alt text confirming what the picture actually is. So we're going to add that in right now. Because these images, like I said, are larger images, they're taken from a professional camera, then it's going to, it's like 32 megapixels or something. So that's going to be a little bit slow to load on your website all the way throughout your website. So like I said, if we go to like mikeobrien.co, this is already loaded up in my cache here, so it won't take too long, but still, it's going line by line to load. That's not a good experience. Slower load speed is, first of all, bad because Google is not going to rank you as high. Load speed is a metric they care about. But second of all, when somebody comes to your website and they have to wait a long time for your website to load, like they get impatient. They might click off. It's not a good experience. But fortunately, there's a really easy way to get rid of this and fix that. And there's a tool that can do that. So here as well, it's taking a really long time. I'm going to select this to cover, so we have the right size there. Actually, let's go to contain, so it's a little bit smaller. Change the X position so it's a little bit further over. Move it up a little bit. All right, so now that is a better looking footer in my opinion. I'm going to update this, and so we can choose where this link's actually going to go. I'll come back to this in a second because I really want to make sure that we have the domain and the URLs set up correctly. So not to jump around a lot here, but let's go back, and there's two really important things we want to do right away. So if we go back to exit here, the first thing is we want to make sure that image loads way faster. And so let's actually start off with that because that is really a huge problem. If we go to add new plugin, so plugins, add new, there's one called Smush. Smush is part of, here it is, lazy load images, install now. It's part of the WPMU dev. Like there's a whole series of different plugins they make. They're all really good ones from what I've used that can really optimize your site. And I think they have a package where you can pay and get all of them for like not that much money. This fortunately is free. Actually, a lot of the plugins on WordPress are freemium, so it's free to get it at first, and then if you want more advanced features, you have to pay for that. Elementor is another example. If you get Elementor Pro, for example, they have a lot of other elements you can add in there and a lot of other templates and cool things you can do. Smush, again, you can compress more files and larger files if you get premium, but as it is right now, if we go to the left, you'll see Smush on the bottom. So if we click on Smush, we can begin the setup. So we're going to say begin setup. It's going to walk us through this for now. So we're going to say next to all of these. These all sound good to me. Finish the setup wizard. It's going to check the images now. And essentially what it does is it strips the metadata. It compresses the images so they take up less space. And therefore, when somebody else loads it on their computer, it uses less bandwidth, so less internet essentially to download that. And also their computer uses less effort to display that image. So I'm going to bulk smush them right now. We only have 32 there, so it's really not a big deal. I think they let you do up to like 50 for free or something like that. So 32 is no problem on this website. And keep in mind, like logos and smaller things also count as something that would be smushed, so to speak. My camera was not recording for a second there. Essentially what happened was I ran the bulk smush. It didn't do a lot of the images because they were too large. There's a 5 megabyte limit, as well as I think you can only do like 50 images. So I upgraded to Smush Pro. Smush Pro says they have no limit on the number of images or the size of images. That's false. They do have a limit on the size of images. As you can see right here, 32 megabytes is their limit. So a lot of these are 33 or 34 megabytes. This one's 32. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's like a little bit more than 32. But either way, what I would probably do is go back and resave these. Instead of PNG, they'd be JPEGs instead, and that would be a smaller file. Easier for it to manage, kind of just a general best housekeeping. I should have done, I didn't realize those were PNGs, but I'm not going to waste time doing that right now. Essentially, that would be important for your website to make sure it actually loads really fast. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually go back and change these into JPEGs with Photoshop, and then when I upload them again and replace these photos, it'll still be the same image there, but it's just going to be a better file type that is easier to compress and doesn't take up as much space. But that's essentially the first thing I wanted to show you. That is really important. Now, the next thing is we really want to make sure that, remember what I said about the blog posts and the articles having like a weird URL? If we go down to the bottom and if we go down to settings right here, click on settings, going through our settings, there's a couple things, just some little housekeeping items here. So first of all, the tagline and the title of our site, we want this to be Mike O'Brien. Mike O'Brien. I'll just call it Mike O'Brien. We're just going to call the website Mike O'Brien. That's what it would say on the top when someone goes there. And then say, this is my personal portfolio. My personal portfolio. You don't want it to say just another WordPress website. That's really tacky. Definitely don't do that. Go down here and say save changes. Then we're going to go down to writing. Nothing here really needs to be changed. Reading, again, nothing here needs to be changed. Really, permalinks, let's just skip down to that. This is what needs to be changed. So remember I said before where it's like / P equals and then 3 random numbers, maybe not random, but to me they seem random. Really what we'd want to do is post name instead, where it's going to be mikeobrien.co / the name of that post. And you can customize what that actually is. So it could be like /about. It could be /my first business / whatever. It's really a better way to do it in my opinion. It's really kind of the standard that most people go with as well. So when we go to save changes, we can go back up to posts, and the post here, if we go to edit, not edit with Elementor, just regular edit, you'll see that now it is mikeobrien.co / and then that entire thing. Now we don't want that. So if we click on it, we can customize this and instead say, let's just say firewood business. Firewood business. mikeobrien.co / firewood business. It's easier for people to remember. It's better for crawlers, for Google going through your website. Overall, just a better link that is more manageable. That's kind of the big thing. If you're trying to rank on Google, one of the big things that people like to get all technical about, like your robot.txt, all this stuff. Really, one of the best things that somebody told me was you just need to think about what gives the best user experience, and that's what Google wants. And if that's what you want, it's going to make a lot of it much easier. Easier links, better load speed, like everything throughout your website should be easier for users to get to your website, spend more time there, and just have a better experience. Google wants to recommend good websites. If you make a good website, it's more likely you'll rank higher on there. So we're going to publish this article, go back to WordPress. I guess it's not done publishing. Let's click publish again and make sure that's done. Publish, there we go. Now let's go back to WordPress. And so far we really talked about a lot in this video. Our website's looking pretty good. We have a couple pages on here. We can edit other pages, on your own time, but you get the idea, the pattern of how that actually works. And if we go to our website now, so in a new tab, we go to mikeobrien.co, we have SSL on there. We've got our website. This, of course, like I said, I didn't change that to a JPEG. That would load much faster, and I will do that in just a second. Okay, so let's kind of work with the idea of a personal portfolio. So not every personal website needs a specific portfolio page. Sometimes you just want to have a gallery on your homepage, but let's go through this and say we want to add a new page, and this is going to be, let's call this main portfolio. We can call it whatever we want. We're going to edit this with Elementor, and within here, so there's our footer on the bottom, of course, but I'm going to go and say, let's see if we can import maybe something that already is a portfolio. See if we have any in the templates here. So personal portfolio, a lot of pages that are part of portfolio packages, but to actually see like this one right here is actually a portfolio page. That makes sense. We might want something like that. You want it to kind of fit your theme as well. Like a lot of these are completely different themes, and if that's the case and if it just doesn't fit, you can always build it from scratch anyway. But I'm going to go with this one right here. I think this one looks pretty decent. Let's import this template, and hopefully this will really help this page to look nice without a lot of effort, because really all I'm looking for is this whole section right here where I can show, for example, maybe some videos that I've made, maybe some edits I've done, maybe some projects in the past from engineering stuff that I've worked with, whatever it is. Let's call this one right here portfolio number 1. Let's call this portfolio, just portfolio in general. So right here we're going to say photography, and then down here, this is just a nice gallery. So we have 9 images selected. If we click on this right here, we can choose what the images are. So let's add to gallery first by uploading files. We're going to select some files. And then from here, let's just go with like, I don't know, maybe just a whole bunch of different pictures that I have. All right, so there we go. A bunch of photos are loading right now. We've got contact down here, and let's just say we want another portfolio. You could just duplicate this entire section right here. If you just go up to the top, those 6 dots, and right-click and say duplicate, then down here we'll have the same thing, and maybe this one could be engineering projects. And then we could just have a bunch of other images there. And the idea here is that if somebody goes to preview the changes, or if they went to the actual website, like if I go to preview changes, they can click on any one of these and see the entire image in sort of a gallery layout like this. So it's a better way for people to view your work without having to scroll down continuously. And they could just say like, oh, this is a nice photo you took, and things like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But another one to look at here is actually the responsive mode. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. If we go to responsive mode and check this out in tablet or in a mobile view, you'll see mobile view, it can be a little bit long. So the top, I don't think this really adds a lot when you're in a mobile. So if I click on this, we can go to advanced, we can go down to responsive, and let's just hide this on mobile. We don't need this entire section on mobile. So that'll actually move everything up, or it should move everything up. In fact, I think this entire first section doesn't really need to be there. We could get rid of all of this stuff. So if it's not letting me select the top of this first section, but essentially that's how you could go about getting rid of that. Similarly, anything down here, if you decide that you don't want the engineering one, you could select that, go over to advanced, go to responsive, and we could hide this on mobile. You can also add other things that are only visible on mobile by hiding them on desktop and on tablet. It's something that one thing most people don't think about necessarily when they're making a website is how it looks on different devices. So this laptop that I'm on right now, a MacBook Pro, has a different aspect ratio from my iMac, which means that websites on here, you can't see it, but it actually, the video, my screen recording cuts off like here, it goes down another inch. So this is a very different layout than a lot of other devices out there. And so as a result, the website's going to look different on here when you're in desktop. So things get cropped slightly differently, and that's why I recommend going on as many different devices as possible to view your website to make sure that you have it set up in the best way possible so it's really robust no matter who's viewing it. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is actually change the logo on that header. You remember on the top we have a header that, let's just go to preview changes. You'll see we've got that logo's, that makes no sense. It's not for me. Otherwise, the website, for the most part, is looking pretty decent. Obviously, you want to go through here and work over the colors in the text to make things look better. But let's go back here to where we were, Elementor Home. If we click on the 3 dots, and or the 3 little hamburger icon there, and we go down to Site Settings, we can go to Site Identity, and here we can see the logo. So let's delete that logo, and let's choose an image of our own. We're going to upload a file, and I just have some generic little logo. Let's go with this one right here. We're going to insert that media, and it should be showing up on the top then as soon as we update that. But another thing is the Favicon right here. So you can see on the top, the Hostinger site, that tab has their logo. Other sites have their own logos. We want our logo to show up on the top. So let's go and add our own. Once again, I'm going to add that onto the Favicon. We can update this. And now the changes have been made, so they should show up on our website. So if we go to preview changes, on the top, our logo is now there, and it's up on the top. That's much more professional. The logo's really small. I would probably do it again without Mike O'Brien on the bottom, but again, that was a 10-second logo made on Canva. By the way, if you don't know what Canva is, I highly recommend it. It's free. And there's a paid version as well, but at least free gets you a lot of templates for different, really any kind of graphic you want to make. Canva is a fantastic tool for making logos or slides or emails or whatever you're trying to make. A lot of graphics can be made on Canva very, very professionally. So those are the fundamentals of a personal portfolio website. I hope you found this video very helpful. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. I'm Mike O'Brien from Santrel Media. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.